4, 3, 2, 1.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's Really Mean Lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it.
This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show, a show all about the thrill of Rob's victories.
Dallas 27, San Francisco 21. The upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from the Super Bowl. 3rd and 3. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. White Clark is 6'4". He stands about 10 feet tall in this crowd's estimation.
And the agony of Steve's defeat.
3 and 2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
But mostly, it's about sports. And nothing but sports.
Onside kick to start the second half. And the ball bounces off the hands of the Colt. And it looked like the Saints had it for a second. And Saints football. They recover the onside kick. What a fearless start to the second half. Really unbelievable decision.
And now, the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
So there it was, day one of the NFL draft last night, and everything was going along exactly as you, Steve, had predicted it would. Obviously, Mendoza, number 2. You said the Jets would take Bailey. Like a week ago, that was buried, and it was going to be Reese. You said Bailey. It was Bailey, and then you said yesterday, you said the Cardinals, because without talk, they're going to trade out of it. You said Jeremiah Love, the running back, take him third. I'm sitting there going, well, this is going exactly as Steve said. But I knew. I had my cell phone ready. Steve and I don't text just for no reason. So I was ready when the Titans were on the clock, getting ready to make their 4th pick. And I'm thinking back to our conversation. And the rumor had been all along, and it is just a rumor, although it was never like officially shot down, that Brian Daboll, when he took the offensive coordinator job, told Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Titans, get me Jeremiah Love in the draft. Well, he's gone. Okay, so what does Saleh do? And I think, Steve, you had thought, was it Sonny Styles, but then now Avril Reese is available too. Saleh's a defensive guy. Yeah, he's the head coach now. But instead, they took Carnell Tate, wide receiver of Ohio State. And that got from me in my home with my Labrador Sarge next to me a wow. And then I picked up my phone and I texted you and I said, Titans with the first wow pick. And you texted back, and this is why I do this. I love getting real-time reaction from you to then see, are you going to modify it at all later when we talk? Like in this case, we'd be on the air today. Titans with the first wow pick. You wrote back, just cost Saleh his job. And I thought, wow, that is like 0 to 60. Really?
I love the overreaction. I just look, what made Robert Saleh such a great coach, the defensive side of the ball. That's what he knows. He needs to build that culture in Tennessee. And I would have taken Avril Reese at this spot, even over Styles, because I wasn't sure he would fully fall. I mean, many people had him as the best player available in the draft. They had that opportunity. They did not go there. Nothing against Carnell Tate, a great wide receiver. But Saleh's focus is that defense. And this just kind of shows that, well, Cam Ward, and I understand it, he is your franchise quarterback. He's the guy you got to get defense. He has to produce on the field. I think there's enough wide receivers, so they could have gone and done something with that a little bit later. The Avril Reese sitting there, I think you got to pull the trigger on that. And, you know, it was that gut reaction of he's leaving what he knows and what's made him successful bowing down to what I perceive as some pressure, Cam Ward, and maybe Carnell Tate's who he really wanted in the first place. I just saw that and said, here we go. Other people making the calls. It's not truly his call.
So there's been plenty of, like usual, post-mortem stuff done about a lot of these picks last night. Truth is, Tennessee did not get a very high grade. Everybody does their draft grades, but you just take out literal grades in terms of questionable choices last night. And one of them was, like you said, there were 4 more wide receivers picked in the first round, or there were 4 total. Either way, like you said, there's plenty of wide receivers to take. To take Carnell Tate at 4th when it was shocking to me with Arvell Reese sitting there. Lots of teams had him as the best player in the draft, or the best non-quarterback player in the draft. And people were pretty high on Sonny Styles, I think rightfully so. And taking Carnell Tate for Cam Ward, a lot of people and I saw people today. We all love to dissect body language. And I was watching this live when they went to the Titans room, and Robert Saleh was standing alone in the middle of the crowd. He was standing by the conference table with his hands over one of the chairs. Everybody else is screaming and yelling. I didn't really think anything of it at the time, but now I'm listening to people going, that's not Robert Saleh. He's usually very effusive. Is this the look of a guy who just didn't like this pick? And then they got to pick again at 31 right before the end of the draft through various trades from the Patriots via the Bills, etc. And they did take a defensive guy, defensive end, Keldrick Falk. Now, a lot of people are saying this is a Robert Saleh pick because this is the kind of guy that Saleh likes, because Falk is not a finished product, and Saleh will get in there and work the wrenches and make. But does that make him a great first-round pick as well? It seems to me like Falk would have been there today. Or I don't know when the Titans pick again. I don't have everything in front of me, but I tried. It didn't. I like Robert Saleh a lot. The Titans are my team this year, to surprise everybody. I didn't think they had a good first day.
I did not as well. And again, when I had talked about the Raiders moving down, Arvell Reese was the guy I was looking at would be a great fit into that Raiders, can take over that defense, move down a little, get a little draft capital, like Kirk Cousins. Let's see what he could do. He was my favorite player sitting in this draft. Going to the Titans, they could have come back. If they traded up, they could have come back and gotten that wide receiver at 31. There's still a couple of good wide receivers still on the board. And if Falk was his guy, roll the dice. Take Falk and make that trade back up to where you're at. Add Falk, add Reese, go get the wide receiver, with your next pick. I'm not a big fan of what they did.
No, I don't like the Falk pick only because he would have been there. Nobody was going to take him. There wasn't a reason to take him at number 31. That's fine that Saleh loves him. Let's go with that. That's the smart money. Okay, but he's going to be there today. So I didn't like that at all. Now we're going to get to what happened after the Titans in a moment, because we do have to get to what everybody does think is the biggest surprise overall. It actually got an unsolicited text from Steve to me rather than me to Steve. The big, bold-faced, capital letters. It jumps out on your iPhone. Wow. At which point I was bouncing around. And the minute I got Steve's, wow, I got my alert on my phone. And I went, what? And sure enough, as Steve said, didn't see that coming. And the Rams selected quarterback Ty Simpson with the 13th pick in the NFL draft. A lot of people immediately said, okay, he's the likely successor to Matthew Stafford, who's 38, coming off an MVP year. Stafford probably wants to play at least 1, if not 2 more years. We know the team wants a multi-year deal, etc. Now, that by itself to me, it was a wow. I didn't see it coming at 13, right? That's where they did it? Yeah. For Ty Simpson. When I stepped back and I thought about it, I thought, well, now wait a minute. This isn't a horrible move for the Rams in that they're solid with Stafford. They can still figure out the Garoppolo thing, although McVay has made some comments kind of like, you missed your chance, buddy. But, I mean, I don't know that Simpson's going to be the backup right away sort of thing. Let Simpson learn. McVay's a quarterback whisperer. If anyone can get the best out of him over the next year plus, it's McVay. But And if it doesn't wash, well, we'll figure it out down the road. The story today, though, is, and I can't tell how much of this is media manufactured. We're supposed to believe that Sean McVay is pissed, and this is not what he wanted, and that if you watch his body language and the things that he said, you can tell there's some problems in Ramland. McVay did say in the immediate post-draft news conference that he had told Matthew Stafford that the team planned to take Ty Simpson, added that he wanted to keep those conversations between the two of them. The only thing he did answer was when Sean McVay was asked for Stafford's reaction to the news, McVay said, "Oh, he was great. He's a stud. He's always very first class in every sense of the word." Okay, so that one. Then in the post-election press conference with both he and general manager Les Snead, a lot of people are saying, and I didn't see the full press conference, they're saying McVay wasn't McVay. He was quiet. His answers were short. Somebody pointed out that his hands were in his pockets while Snead was explaining the reasoning for picking Simpson. He's pouting like a child. And as to the question of what it was about Simpson that made him the choice, it was Snead, not McVay, who provided the response, and that McVay didn't seem to be enthused. I got all this after the fact, like this morning, Steve. I didn't realize it was a story until everybody started throwing it down my throat. Les Snead this morning on a podcast said that first of all, he concurred. McVay had talked to Matthew Stafford. Matthew's on the way to his Hall of Fame career, but they got to figure out what's going to happen next. And he said, Sean and I are always going to work together in these types of decisions. We're in lockstep. We work together. We're collaborative. It's him and I partnering to try to do the best for the Rams. Is there really a story here?
There is a story there. Sean McVay was not on board with that pick. I think I'm giving the Rams the benefit of the doubt. If anyone can, I give so much respect to him, his offense, what he can do with quarterbacks, etc., that if that's really the guy that he wanted to hand this team over with and his career over to, because as Steve Kerr said, all of these jobs have an expiration date. If that's really where he wanted to take the Rams organization, I give him, my blessing, and not that that matters, but you know what I'm saying? I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that that is what he wanted to do. If down the road you find out it's not, then this makes it even worse, because now you're wasting a high draft pick, and the Rams don't get many of them. The Rams tend to trade away their early draft picks. They are good, so they don't really get early draft picks. And if they go, and their windows now with Matthew Stafford, and they went and blew that opportunity on Ty Simpson, who I didn't even think was a first-round quarterback if you threw him in next year's draft, which is where I give him credit for, look, I'm going to get drafted in the first round most likely this year. If I go next year, I may not get drafted into the, who knows, maybe later, and maybe his stock goes way up and he's an early first round. I just, that expiration date on McVay with the Rams. Remember, he a couple of years ago was talking about walking away. And if he's not even given input on this, and the GM's doing this without his blessing at this point, with everything he's done for the Rams, that expiration date might have moved forward.
And that to me is the linchpin. Overall, like I said, I thought about it. I went, well, that's not the worst thing the Rams could have done. That's not the same as saying I think it was a great pick. I don't. Because we had actually talked about previously when Garoppolo initially said, yeah, I don't think I'm going to come back. We're like, what is he thinking? You're going to play for Garoppolo now. You're going to play for an amazing team with an amazing quarterback, with an amazing head coach. If you get the opportunity, you can fit right in and take care of the team for a few games. And they're certainly a Super Bowl contender. They're the favorite in a lot of people's eyes. And Mo, by the way, you might be the starter the following year when the Rams take one of the 47 quarterbacks that we're told are going to be available that could all be starters. And then you get to mentor that guy. And so when I really talked it through, I went, yeah, I'm not quite sure. But the key is, if McVay is just towing the line here, if that call to Matthew Stafford was only because McVay had been told, we're taking him, so you let Matt know. And McVay had to do it begrudgingly. And that's why in the post-pick conference, He's not talking. He's got his hands in his pockets. I mean, the clips I saw, which you can't tell what's manipulated or not, he did look defeated. Maybe he's just exhausted. But McVay is one of those go, 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 Energizer Bunny guys. So I think that's what caught a lot of people off guard. And if he wasn't, I don't believe for a second he wasn't in on it. But it sounds like maybe he was big-footed.
And then to take it a step farther, if McVay was not, he was told this is what you have to do, and as bosses, we all get those moments that we have to go do what we're told to do. And McVay made that, you have to believe there was a little bit of heart to heart when Stafford said, "What? You're not getting me a wide receiver? You're not getting me something like this? You know, we want to win the Super Bowl now." I found it hard to believe McVay didn't say, "Yeah, well, look, this wasn't my pick." And if that conversation then took place with the honesty and the true heart to heart, Matthew Stafford's career, I believe, just became shorter, because now he's might be looking at it going, "I'm gone at the end of this year. I committed. You know how I take every year, but this, I'm not going to sit here and look over Ty Simpson, you know, on the sideline going, okay, how long before they wasted a high first round pick on him? You know what? Maybe I need to just walk away from the game a little bit earlier than he might not have."
Look, you know what? Because I always say that when there's a lack of information, we fill the vacuum with rumor and stories and conjecture. That's where we're stuck here today. And I can take what you're saying and combine it with something I was saying and create a whole scenario. We all know, well, as guys, we know how we talk to other guys. And even as bosses, when you talk to other people and you have to deliver bad news, you might slip up, you might say, "Look, this wasn't my call," etc. So imagine the scenario where McVay lost, and he's only doing this because he's been told to do it, and he does agree, "Yeah, I've got to tell Matt that this is going to happen." So how does McVay present it? Does he say, "Look, man, you're not going to like this. I don't like it, but if he's available, we're going to be taking Ty Simpson." "What do you mean you're taking Ty Simpson? Where's my wide receiver? How are we going to win this year? Looking forward to 2 years down there." "Yeah, man, I agree. This is BS, man." And they keep going. And eventually, what you brought up with McVay, the conversation ends with, "Look, Matt, let's do this. Let's go win the Super Bowl, and we're just both going to walk away. I've had it. There's a reason I almost left before. You come on. You're done. You don't want this. Do you want next year? You want to be competing with Ty Simpson?" I could see that happening. I'm making it up entirely, but that's a realistic conversation.
Yeah, and that wouldn't surprise me if it was not McVay's call. I think this conversation that you just talked about, I think that's more likely than not to be how that conversation went.
And we can't go on, because McVay is going to get asked, whether it's today or next week. He's going to get asked, "Hey, what was the deal?" And McVay he's going to be a pro. He's going to say, "Oh, come on. What so-and-so, the GM said," whatever his name is, "he's right. We work in lockstep. I was tired." McVay ain't going to now go, "Well, I look like that because I think it's a stupid pick." No. So we're not going to know for quite a while, probably, what the truth. But the pick was the shocker. And then all of this fallout was because this is not a team that's usually like this. This is not the Eagles. This is not, the Browns or any. This is the Rams. They're usually pretty buttoned up with this.
The part that I just shake my head at is we just relived this from 2 years ago when the Falcons took Penix Jr. And the same thing played out, except I don't think anybody felt the Falcons were a serious Super Bowl contender. But I think most people felt that with the great draft pick there, they were contenders to win that division, if not the favorites to win that division. And look where that took the Falcons.
Okay, before we get again to what happened after what the Titans did, there were a few other things. Now, I was literally typing Steve a text to try to get the answer to this, and Steve had preemptively, his text came through first because I didn't get this one. A lot of people were saying it was unnecessary. The Kansas City Chiefs moved up to the number 6 pick ahead of Washington to ensure that they would land Mansour Delane, cornerback out of LSU. And my text was, why would the Chiefs move up to grab this guy? And Steve, you felt like they were trying to get ahead of what everybody thought. I guess the Saints were going to take him.
Everything I had read, that's where he was supposed to be going, is to the Saints. The Saints need that help. We're looking at that. And the Chiefs, keep in mind, they traded away one of their corners. The other one left free agency. They got another corner that has an injury. They don't know how he's going to respond and where he's going to be fully at. They're in desperation in that secondary. Delane is the best cornerback on the board, and not at the time, but the best cornerback in the draft. And I feel that they really wanted him and they were willing to trade up to ensure they got him, and he didn't go to the Saints. And then they'd be figuring out, where do we go from here?
Whether it's smart or not, but the two rubs I heard on it were, and you've already answered this one. Why would they trade up to get Delane? Well, you answered that. I don't know why no one else has figured that out, but that's the answer, because they didn't want the Saints to take him. The other thing, though, that a lot of people fell back on was this the thing of all the things? And a lot of people keep pointing to a pass rusher. That is what the Chiefs should have made their priority as opposed to a corner. That's just what's being said out there. I was a little shocked they moved up, but was that the Jay Glazer thing?
No, the Jay Glazer thing has to be Ty Simpson. If it's not that, no matter what happens through the rest of the draft, unless a big name gets traded for a low draft pick, it has to be the Ty Simpson thing.
And Jay Glazer had said on Wednesday, he specifically said first round, that there was going to be this huge thing and he couldn't tell anybody. Okay. I mean, he is in LA, and you could make the case that I guess I interpreted it as there was going to be a big move made. Well, I guess it is a move to draft Ty Simpson. Because other than that, there wasn't really anything that was like eye-poppingly, oh my God. I mean, there were some teams that had surprising good and surprising bad days, but okay, Chiefs move up, they get Delane. Oh, wait. And then I got another unsolicited text from Steve. Where's this one? Okay, let's go back here. It's not this one. Because at this point I was clicking back and forth and trying to find. Okay, there are 4 offensive tackles on the draft board with a higher ranking than who the Lions just picked. Has me shaking my head. Now, I right away thought of what we talked about yesterday, the Jahmyr Gibbs text that you sent me. I can't believe they just used to pick a running back. So Lions general manager Brad Holmes made the call to draft Clemson offensive tackle Blake Miller during the first round. And Holmes says it was a culmination of a years-long process of scouting him. The story goes on, Steve, but what Brad Holmes would say to you is, we've been watching this kid for years. I don't care about your little rankings. This guy is the guy they're claiming they got the guy they wanted.
And that's great. And I hope I love him. And I'm very thankful that the Lions drafted him, and they've been scouting him a long time. I think he has 50 starts through his college career. So there's a lot of tape on him. You know, you see these rankings, and where that came from is they drafted him, and the quote earlier in the week was, we're not going to draft by need. We're going to take the best player available. So we may not take, an edge rusher. We may not take an offensive lineman. We're going to do our due diligence and take the best player. And then they take him, and I look and I'm like, there's 4 offensive tackles still on the board that have a higher rating. There is still one now. There's a kid out of Iowa who has a higher ranking. He's still available at tackle than Blake Miller does. And Freeling, the guy who went to the Panthers out of Georgia, he was the number 2 overall tackle rate that was out there. And then you add the guy the Steelers took, Lomu, who went to the Patriots with the 28th pick. He had a higher rating. So that's where it was like, what? And I can't evaluate offensive linemen. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't watch tape on them. I don't study them. I have to go by just the different research you have, looking at rankings and what people say. And there was 4 guys supposedly better.
You are correct. Basically, GM Holmes did exactly the opposite of what he said the Lions were going to do. We're not going to target a guy. We're just going to take the bet. Well, no, you literally did target a guy. They have been watching Blake Miller for years. They say they saw continued growth in him during his college career. In fact, I don't have the number on it, but he was a starter at Clemson from 2022 to 25. So yeah, he's got a lot of starts, a lot of tape on him. And Holmes went as far as saying he would have been willing to trade up to get Miller if they had to. He said when the Rams took Ty Simpson 13th overall, they looked at the board and they thought that Miller would still be there at number 17, but he was ready to move up if he had to because that's how highly they think of Miller.
I thought they would be looking at moving up to go pick up Caden Proctor, the big tackle out of Alabama, who ended up getting drafted by, where did he go? The Dolphins. That's where I thought he was gonna, that's the guy I thought they'd move up to go get. So they didn't move up. They didn't have to give away any draft capital. I really hope he is the player that Holmes says he is, and I will be very happy down the road.
So back to where it all started. Mendoza goes first to the Raiders. We'll get to that eventually, but we knew that was coming. Jets take Bailey. It was going to be him or Reese. We just didn't know. They took Bailey. Cardinals stayed at number 3. They took Love, and then we got the first wow. The Titans take Tate. And the next thing that after Steve and I went back and forth over Saleh losing his job and he's not playing to his strengths and all that, I texted to Steve. I said, John Harbaugh's got to be loving this. He already had 2 of the top 10 picks, and here it is at number 5, and he can do whatever he wants. I mean, it's like Harbaugh had to be thinking, my God, what? And the Giants, they had 2 picks yesterday. Ultimately, obviously, top 10. They addressed both sides of the ball in the first round, and the first thing they did was they took Arvell Reese with the 5th pick. The Giants had Reese as the top-ranked non-quarterback on its board. So when you go into the room and you've already got the top-ranked non-quarterback and he's available when it's your pick, you've got to be salivating all over yourself. You can't,
and that's got to be their number 1 guy on the board because they were not taking Mendoza. So he was their first overall pick. If they picked first, that's who they would have selected.
Right. And he's just sitting there at number 5, and Harbaugh's going, I got to pick again in 4 more turns, and they did. Ultimately, they chose. I'm never going to get this name right. The Miami offensive lineman Francis
Mauiaga. I have no idea.
General manager Joe Shine said the Giants never thought it was possible to land both, and said you couldn't do any better. I don't know anything about Mauiaga, and I mean, he's an offensive lineman. He was obviously coveted. It does seem like the Giants did pretty well with those 2 top 10 picks yesterday.
Yeah, they did. Just handing John Harbaugh here, just look at the draft. Who do you want? And it's amazing how these well-run organizations, I'm giving the credit to Harbaugh here, not the Giants, that things just happen to seem to fall into their hands. I mean, and the Ravens, another one, just sit there every year, and it happened again yesterday. And just the player that is the surest thing type of thing that's there that they need, and plop, here you go. You can have him too. You don't have to trade. You don't have to do anything. It's amazing how some of these teams, it just happens that way.
There were 8 teams that didn't even pick yesterday. The Niners are one of them. We'll talk about that. Surprises, winners, losers. And yes, we're already betting on things that happened yesterday that won't happen again for almost a year. All of that as part of our post-draft coverage from yesterday. Before, yes, we will get to NBA, NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, and more coming up.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
Finance. Nevada 5091. Equal housing opportunity.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. MAP, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you, all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
You know those guys you see in a sports bar laughing and enjoying each other and just talking sports? That's this. Back to the Rob and Steve Show. Email them, ras@theradnetwork.com.
One of the things I mentioned, Steve, as we were heading into the NFL draft was, will the Cowboys finally be interesting? They never really are. And then we got a little bit of news. George Pickens did sign his tender before the draft started to play for $27.3 million this season. Now, he couldn't be traded until he signed the tender. According to multiple sources, there have been no trade discussions with other teams about Pickens, but we're only in day 2 of the draft. He's there now. Would he be trade bait for somebody? And then the Cowboys go out, and after spending months saying, we'll draft offensive players. Doesn't matter. We had the best offense in the league last year. Well, at the end of the draft, Jerry Jones said, we have changed the face of the defense. Because they went out and they got Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State, with the number 11 pick. And they selected UCF edge rusher Malachi Lawrence with the 23rd pick moving down. So the Cowboys, the rub on the Cowboys was no defense at all whatsoever. And then the Jerry and little Jerry, that's the coach that doesn't have his own brain. Who's that? Is that Schottenheimer? Who's doing that now in Dallas? I can't remember.
Their head coach?
Yeah, who is that these days?
Isn't it quarterback out of Boise, who's the offensive coordinator with the Eagles?
Oh, okay. I can't remember. Anyways, Jerry Jones is running the show. But they've all been saying, oh, yeah, we'll draft off it. No. So they go out and these are 2 primary defensive drafts that were out there. So did we finally see something from the Cowboys? Steve, we've been talking about, I know the Eagles, they traded up to get a wide receiver to replace A.J. Brown, who's going to be a Patriot. Big deal. I don't know why everybody was drooling all over that move, because as we've talked about, wide receivers are endless in this draft. We've been talking about how other than that, the Eagles are standing still. And I'm wondering if they're still standing still in the East and if they've been moved down to 4th in that division.
Yeah, I'm not ready to put them down to 4th. Hurting at quarterback, hurting at that. Kellen Moore was the guy I was trying to throw out there. And no, I think it is Schottenheimer who has taken.
Yeah, it is Brian.
Who has taken over the Cowboys. I don't know why I wanted to give that head coaching job to Kellen Moore.
Poor Kellen Moore.
But the Eagles. surprising. I mean, and this is where I do like the media, because with the Eagles pick, the God, the wide receiver out of USC, Mekhi Lamone, he is arguably the most talented wide receiver in the draft. The question with him has been the baggage and kind of his attitude and things that go along with a star player. But the Steelers were drafting him. They were on the phone with him, having a conversation of him coming into Pittsburgh. As he's on the phone, the Eagles are trying to reach him. They cannot get through. He ends up hanging up with the Steelers, talks to the Eagles. The Eagles say, we just made a trade for him, and you're now coming to the Eagles as their wide receiver. He was happy about that because the Eagles traded up to get him. And then the Steelers just left. They had him. They're on the phone. And now they had to regroup and figure out where they were going to go with their next pick.
So the way you describe Mackay, does he pronounce it Lemon or Lemon? Whatever. He's out of USC.
I cannot be. I thought I heard them talking last night with Lamone.
That's fine. But it sounds like he's a little young AJ Brown.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking when they drafted him. I'm like, okay, I think he might even be worse than AJ Brown. He might be more in that, George Pickens type of mold. And we'll see. They say he's very focused on what he believes and what he wants to do, and we'll see how he fits with that organization as well. But extremely talented, you can't question that.
So as we keep doing this thing with the NFC East, and this really actually started with the Jalen Hurts story and the 12 sources saying, yeah, it's as bad as you've all heard, and nobody likes him. Oh, and the AJ Brown thing. And then we're thinking, okay, now wait a minute. Harbaugh going to the Giants immediately, this was before the draft, immediately gives the Giants credibility and gravitas. And then they have a pretty good day at the draft. The Commanders, yeah, the wild card there is Jaden Daniels. Now you're saying you're still not ready to put the Eagles fourth in the division. So who is fourth in that division going in?
Oh, man, I love this division. I would need to see a little bit more improvement in the return to 2 years ago with the Commanders. Dak Prescott goes down, and I know that the Cowboys address that defense. I'm just not sure what the Cowboys will really do. I like Harbaugh. I think he's going to make improvement there. I think the Giants may have the lesser talent in that division, but there's just so many wild cards with each team that the Eagles have the most talent. Don't like the quarterback situation. Don't like the head coach. Commander Dan Quinn, love him. Hope he gets back to the team we had 2 years ago, and they'd be right there. And Harbaugh, you can never count out.
Yeah, and then the Cowboys are sitting there with they're the Cowboys. But yeah, of course, injuries are going to kill anyone. Dak goes down, we're screwed in terms of how good the Cowboys are. But the Cowboys, as they bolster their defense, and they already had a great offense, other than them being the Cowboys, it's like this is certainly it's a tighter division than the Eagles would like it to be, and the Eagles are not the favorite. They're I mean, I don't care about what. Sorry, no offense to you, Steve. What Vegas says, what the betting odds say. To me, in my mind, that's a wide open division right now.
I agree with you. And the Cowboys, I don't have it. What were they, like 30th in the league? I mean, they were real close to the bottom, I believe, defensively. So they greatly improved. What do they go to? 20? I mean, I don't think these two draft picks put them as a top 10 defense in the NFL. And they just need to slow their opponents down. They showed last year their offense was one of the best in the NFL. They could put up 30 points a game. They just need to stop their opponents from scoring 35 to 40 every game.
Now, for the first time in the 10-year run of the Shanahan-Lynch era, the Niners moved out of first round of the NFL draft on the night of the draft thanks to back-to-back trades. So they didn't make a pick. However, they're on the clock first tonight with the 33rd pick. General Manager John Lynch says, quote, the cool thing about the 33rd pick is it puts you in a nice spot. We can reconvene, reset our board, reset our thoughts, have a good idea of where we're going, end quote. He also went on to say that any team that has their eye on a particular prospect will have several hours to come up with an offer that causes the Niners to wait even longer before making their first pick. So the Niners, they said, there's nothing here that's exciting. We're going to trade out. So they're first up. If you go by Mel Kiper, and he just does it by best players available. He's got Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington, at the top of the list. A lot of people have said the Niners do want to add another wide receiver, whether it's right away, but their first pick to start tonight, the Zion Young, the edge out of Missouri, C.J. Allen, the linebacker out of Georgia, and then you get into cornerbacks, safeties, guards, eds. I mean, the things that the Niners need are all sitting there in terms of what do we need to bolster this team to compete with the damn Seahawks and Rams in this division. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the Mel Kiper thing. I found it interesting because the two players I was looking at was Denzel Boston, wide receiver. I really think the Niners need to address that wide receiver room. I know they brought in Mike Evans, etc., to bolster their wide receiver production. And Zion Young, he's the guy I thought was going to get drafted in that first round at the end there instead of instead of the Falk, who ended up going to Texas. To the Titans. I really thought Zion Young was going to be in that 28 to 32 area is where he was going to get drafted. And it wouldn't have shocked me if the Cowboys had taken him at 23rd. That wouldn't have shocked me either. Lawrence was a big riser going into the offseason. He was not that high up on the boards, but with the combines and everything else, he really rose up the charts.
So the Niners right now, they have the first pick today, the 33rd pick overall. The Cardinals pick again. Some people are saying they might even be looking at Carson Beck, the quarterback out of Miami, because the Cardinals are such a mess. But that's pretty high, isn't it? You're just going to laugh hysterically at that idea. Okay.
I got to regain composure. Carson Beck will be available in like round 4.
It does seem early. I agree. I agree. That would not be the Bills. Now, see, a lot of people think they're looking at Boston, and that the Niners might be looking at Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo. And it is just kind of like a what's the bigger need sort of thing. And there's more wide receivers still, right, than quality secondary players. I don't know. I'm not overly invested in this with the Niners this year, even though I'm a Niner fan. I'm not sure the draft is going to be the thing that does or doesn't turn them around this season.
Yeah, health. Niners have gotten older, and with everyone, health is going to be there. I still don't think the Niners. I think they're a really good team. I think they should make the playoffs. I don't think I can put them into that elite. I think they're third best in their division, and that's tough to advance them in my mind deep into the playoffs.
Niners, Cardinals, Bills, Raiders, Giants again. Those are the first 5 picks I scheduled for tonight. By the way, the Raiders, they took Mendoza, and a lot of people are saying the Raiders did just fine. The Raiders did as good as they can do. Like, a lot of people are kind of giving the Raiders on the draft grade. They're all in the A's, A minus. When you read it or you listen to it, it seems to be under the guise of what else were they going to do? They're the Raiders. Anybody the Raiders pick, they need. Other than wasting a first-round pick on a tight end, it's like that seemed to be the attitude of, they didn't screw it up, I guess is a good way to put it.
And they couldn't have. The best player, non-quarterback, was Reese. You got to believe that's where they would have gone if they didn't take Mendoza, and they took Mendoza. We knew Mendoza was going number 1 in January. You could argue we knew it in December whenever the Raiders locked up that number 1 draft pick.
Now, the New York Jets, they spent, because they had 2 picks yesterday, they spent their number 16 pick on Kenyon Sadiq, who we talked yesterday, Steve. You weren't overly sold on a tight end in the draft, in the first round, usually and historically. Sadiq is the consensus best tight end in the draft for the year. Is this where the Jets should have been looking with their second first-round pick?
I'm not going to knock it. I'm not a big fan, but the thing with Sadiq is he's got the size and he's got the speed. So he becomes that hybrid tight end that you can spread out. He's really difficult because he's faster than the linebackers, which is going to make him tough to cover there. So you kind of on him, but he has the size on the nickelbacks and the stuff like that in the secondary. Not sure I would have gone there, but I can't knock it. And surprisingly, I hate to say this, I liked the Jets draft. I really did. They just don't have anybody to throw the ball to them.
Steve, Geno Smith is going to lead them to their promised land. We have already heard that is a direct quote from head coach Aaron Glenn. Geno Smith will lead us to the promised land. I don't know what your problem is. I don't know if you're going through some type of phase, midlife crisis, not believing in anything, but we already know who's going to be throwing. So now,
and to add on to that, which then plays into it, so they have a bad year. They go get their quarterback next year. They added 3 good talents, a wide receiver, and a tight end. So we know when they draft the quarterback next year in that first round, they're not going to have to address those areas. They also picked up an edge rusher. And that's probably why I really like their draft, is because they're looking already to next year.
And part of the draft is always the emotional element or whatever. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the kid who, what he's like, I don't know, 4th or 6th or whatever, who literally, as he was making the walk down the tunnel, he just lost it. He got on his knees and he started crying. It was clearly an emotional moment for him. That was cool in the sense of, he couldn't believe this. I mean, he could, but he couldn't believe this was happening. And that was there wasn't a lot of that. The Mendoza family, they were all down in Florida at the big house party, and they were very buttoned up, suit, tie. And it was like, you could tell they'd been coached, behave, behave, behave. One of the side stories that we didn't really know in the moment, but now all the videos have leaked from cell phones and stuff, is that when the Jets decided they were going to draft Kenyon Sadiq, the phone call is a big deal. The team calls you, and so you know that it's coming. Sadiq was convinced he was being pranked. He did not believe for a second that Aaron Glenn was really on the phone. All these videos have gone viral now. Because Aaron Glenn says something like, "No, you're not being pranked. You're going to be a Jet." And you hear the Jets guys in the conference room. They're laughing. They're like, "Dude doesn't believe us." And so there's that fun story. And those videos are floating around as well. That he was finally convinced. Oh my God, I'm going to be a Jet. And he is.
And it makes you wonder, did he not go for a visit with the Jets? Did the Jets not talk to him ahead of time? So he's like, look, I talked to 10 other teams. The Jets were never one of those teams. I can't be going to the Jets. I view it more as he's just so happy, surprised he got picked that high, and just so happy to be going to the NFL and valued, at that slot.
If you look over winners and losers, this is the other thing, grades and winners and losers. And so I ESPN.com and NFL.com, for the most part, winners for yesterday, the Raiders were mentioned. I'm trying to see who we haven't talked about. The Cardinals were mentioned. Were the Cardinals winners? They were smart to take Love, right? He's the best guy available. Just take him.
Yeah, I agreed with that take. They didn't have another pick. So it's kind of like the Mendoza. That's who I expected to where they would go. So, is that really that big of a winner of a pick when you're picking first and third? You better get a good player that people like. You're not going to take a long shot draft pick at that spot.
Could be like the Raiders. It could be the old, hey, it's the Cardinals. They didn't screw it up, so we're going to call them a winner of the draft.
Yeah.
We already talked about the Cowboys. The other one that a lot of people really liked, just in terms of they had 2 picks, were the Browns. Taking Spencer Fano at number 9 and Casey Concepcion at number 24. The problem for me with the Browns always is not only our latent understanding, you and me, of we don't really know anything of what they're getting, but it's the Browns. And it's so hard to go, good for Cleveland. This will really improve things.
I think this was another case of that they didn't screw it up. Both players were up at the top. A lot of talk on, I believe Concepcion was one of the players the Niners were looking at wide receiver if he was available, if and when they were to pick. So they brought in somebody to help Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson, whoever ends up being the quarterback there, gives them another offensive weapon, and they have to protect. And so I liked what they did. Bad quarterback play needs weapons and a strong offensive line. But I don't give them the high grade. I just give them they didn't screw it up.
So they actually didn't do, even though the headline was, clickbait for ESPN in particular, was round one winners and losers. Well, they didn't actually say losers. Probably want to stay in good graces with the teams. They had questionable nights, and they only mentioned two teams: the Chiefs, which I questioned. I questioned why they had to move up to number 6 to get Delane. You gave me the answer, but I still kind of question if that was the right move. And the Rams, that is question. That's fair. It is questionable that they took Ty Simpson with the pick they had.
And I understood the Chiefs trade for that. I can see that. Look, we're desperate. We need to do something, and they made that move. Ty Simpson, I give the Rams benefit of the doubt because they're a great organization. I just don't understand that one at all.
Is there anyone else, anything else, any other team else? Oh, I heard somebody today, they were ripping on the Dolphins. They didn't like the Dolphins overall. I didn't really pay attention. But is there anything else, anyone else that made you go, hey, wait a minute, we need to mention this from the first round?
No, I shook my head, as I said in my text, with the Lions going, and I was waiting to see if they fell into that loser category. But I understand. The guy has 50 starts for Clemson. He's playing football with the best. A lot of starts, a lot of experience. He's ready to step in. They say Penei Sewell's going to move over to left tackle, and he's going to step in at right tackle. And we'll see how it goes, because the Lions, when they can't run the ball, are not a very good team.
So one of my favorite things about your industry is the minute anything happens, we immediately have to bet on something that's not going to happen forever. Most famously, right? The day after the Super Bowl, we right away know the odds for who's going to win next year's Super Bowl.
No, and I get it. You know that a week ahead of time. We've now, all the sports books have gone to putting it up during that Super Bowl week because everybody's coming to town. This is their excitement for their next team. If your team's not in it this year, you can already get action down while you're here for our Super Bowl parties.
And don't get me wrong, I get it. I gamble now and then. And if you see that your team or the team that you think already in February is going to be the surprise team and they're way down there, you're thinking, oh, you wait, the offseason and then the draft, and you can get them at really good. I get it. It's just, it is comical to me. And throughout my life, Dawn and other women in my life always said, what? How can you be, the season's not even over and you're talking about, yes. So after the first round of the 2026 NFL draft, sportsbooks across the nation immediately released their lines for the league's Rookie of the Year honors. So, and this is just an example of, they went to all the usual: Caesars, FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM Bets in here somewhere. Arizona Cardinals running back Jeremiah Love is the overall favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Carnell Tate and Fernando Mendoza round out the top three. Okay.
I think I agree with Love. The Cardinals have been able to run the ball even when Kyler Murray was out. They really focus on running the ball. They haven't had the great running backs in there, but they've always been very productive with their offense. So I put Love there. Mendoza's got to be there because he was the number one pick. And then you're looking at, okay, who's the best wide receiver? I mean, it's offense. We're not talking anything else. So find the top quarterback, running back, wide receiver. It's not rocket science. And those are our guys we're going to determine then off the odds.
So for Defensive Rookie of the Year, they went with New York Jets defensive end David Bailey as the favorite. Then you've got Arvell Reese, big surprise, and the Commanders linebacker Sonny Styles. That I think you and I could have put that list together yesterday. That was going to be the list, right?
Yes, it'd be great if Caleb Downs and this refocused, rebuilt Cowboys defense, Caleb Downs came in there and really launched this Cowboy defense, and he won Defensive Rookie Player of the Year. I don't think it's going to happen. I just wanted to throw a little excitement for the Cowboy fans.
Well, and wouldn't that be, though, the whole point of why, one of the reasons why, I mean, the reason why is that people will bet, you'll get their money. But this would be the logical side of it, is that when the numbers come out or the odds come out for Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, rather, and Downs isn't even in the top three, you right away go, if you think what you just said, oh, sure, I'll put a few shekels on that. He's not even one of the three favorites. That's kind of the idea, right?
Great investment. That's why you put these things up there. Oh, I think he's going to be there. As a
Right.
fan, we love to bet with our hearts, which is the biggest mistake we ever make in gambling.
Yeah.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040. Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
Just like you, they dreamt of hitting the game-winning homer to win the World Series. And just like you, well, you know. Once again, here's Rob and Steve on the Rad Network.
By the way, day 2 of the NFL draft begins an hour earlier than yesterday, so if you're so inclined, 4 o'clock Pacific time, back on ESPN if you're a Niner fan as of right now. The Niners have the first pick of the second round at the 33rd pick. We'll see if they stay there and who they take. We got postseason basketball and hockey going on as well. There's a few of these series where we've said, we have to play them. And then there's the ones where it's like, this is a great series. This is something to watch. And I don't know that it was great to watch, but in what will be statistically, as of right now, the worst shooting night of his playoff career, Nikola Jokic missed 19 of his 26 shots last night. Jesus. He missed 19 of 26 last night. Denver Nuggets failed to reach 100 points for the first time since January. And in this NBA, not reaching 100 points for any team at any time is a headline in and of itself. The Timberwolves 113-96 win over the Nuggets, put them in a 2-1 series deficit as pressure mounts on Joker to solve Rudy Gobert and the Minnesota defense. Because, and that, again, this was one of the series that we're like, this is 7, or it's going to be a great 6. This was not one where we buried anyone. That is a big win for Minnesota, Steve.
It really was, because now they're up 2-1 in the series. They've shown that they, could win on the road with a win in Denver. They're hoping to just save that home court right here. Really, for me, though, it was more Denver. I mean, it wasn't just Jokic. The whole team couldn't shoot. They shot 35%, 34% from the floor. You're not going to beat anybody in the NBA shooting like they did last night. And it just gives the Wolves a little bit more of that confidence that they're putting things together at the right time and they're not intimidated. And I still, as you said, this series is going the distance. I'm excited for it. To me, it's the best series in this opening round of the playoffs. And I hope every game is close and just a hard fought battle.
Now, yeah, and that was the thing about, I don't know if it was great to watch last night, is that it wasn't close and it wasn't a hard fought battle. Still, we have a good series going on. And look, I'm not the biggest basketball fan. I love the NBA. I do enjoy watching it. I don't get into it as much as Major League Baseball and the NFL. You ask me this question in baseball or the NFL, I'm going to have an answer for you, and I'm going to go 10 deep right away. I hear constantly people saying the best overall basketball player on the planet is Joker. And I hear a lot of people say it, and I don't hear anybody argue with them. I don't know enough. I know he's great. Is he the best overall player on the planet, in your opinion, Steve?
It's hard to argue against that because he does so much so well. He can shoot, he can rebound, he can pass. The offense runs through him for the most part. I know Jamal Murray's sitting there, but he just creates so many issues. And even, okay, they're playing the Spurs and Wembanyama's there, and he takes so many players' shots away. So, Jokic just says, okay, I'll throw the ball 40 feet in the air and I'll still get it to come down in the net. He just adjusts his shot to what it is. He is that talented. That's why every year he's in the top 3 voting for MVP, not just because of his numbers. You look at it and he pretty much averages a triple-double all the time, but because he backs it up as well. He doesn't pad his stats like we've seen some other players, do in the past on a non-competitive team, and he's the heart and soul of the Nuggets.
Now, usually a player that's described like that, and I don't take issue with any of it, and you did mention it was the whole team. I mean, the Nuggets, they just decided to take the night off, relatively speaking, to who their opponent was. Usually a player like that will not be intimidated, will not become a head case over what happened last night. If anything, a la Michael Jordan, it will become fuel. It leads them to be even better. Is it at all possible, from what you know of Jokic, is Gobert in his head? Is he starting to go, oh my God, I can't figure this guy, or is that not even likely based on what you know?
I don't see that as likely at all. It wouldn't shock me if Jokic comes back and puts up 40 plus points in this next game just to show, hey, look, I had a bad night. The team had a bad night. We had 39 points at a halftime. Those days do happen. Even Shohei Ohtani strikes out and gets hit hard as a pitcher. They do happen. I expect him to rebound big in this next game.
In the next game, do you think the Nuggets steal one on the road, even the series at 2-2?
Yeah, I think we're 2-2 going back to Denver.
All right, now another one that we've been talking about, and we keep bouncing back and forth. Because remember, before the playoffs started, The Athletic published their anonymous survey of 200 current NBA players. And of all the teams that were in the postseason, not one of the 200 active NBA players said the Knicks had a chance to win the championship. Not one. And I don't have the list in front of me anymore, but there were teams like Charlotte and others that they got a few votes ahead of the Knicks. The Atlanta Hawks needed a clutch shot, so here you go, CJ. 34-year-old CJ McCollum came through. Second game in a row, 15-foot jumper gave the Hawks a 109-108 win over the Knicks Thursday night, and now Atlanta is up 2-1 in the series against the Knicks, who were favored. And it's not like we're intentionally picking on New York. It's just where the sports keep leading us. Mets. Yankees are doing good. Things are good there. The Knicks, we keep talking about. Can Mike Brown even keep his job? Probably not if they lose to the Hawks. He was never a really good fit. How angry are the Knicks fans? This is yet another year. This is it. We're going to do it. They might lose to the Hawks, Steve.
I would love it. I loved it last night's game. I was ecstatic when CJ McCollum made the shot. At first, I was like, oh, no. It's too fast. You need to run a little bit more time off the clock. But he took it to the hoop. He put pressure on the defense. He got his shot. He made it. I think there was still 12 seconds on the clock. And a tribute to the Hawks defense. Then just shut it. They knew it was going to Brunson. They took it away, got in the corner. They double teamed him. He tried to pass to Hart. They stole the ball. Game over. What a great way to end the game. Knicks should be up 3-0. They are down 2-1, and I love every bit of it.
So we mentioned, and let me circle back real quickly. We talked about Denver's at Minnesota. That's tomorrow night, 5:30. That'll be on ABC. The Knicks are at Atlanta tomorrow. That's at 3. That's on NBC. So look, this gets a little convoluted, okay? Tomorrow for the NBA, before we get to tonight, it's Peacock for the early game. So screw you if you don't have Peacock. Then NBC, ABC. So the Knicks are at Atlanta tomorrow, NBC, 3 o'clock Pacific time. So they should be up 3 games to none. They're down 2-1. They go down 3-1. It gets even worse. All right, so
yes.
Rebound, Knicks come back, or
well, right now the Knicks are a 1.5 to 2 point favorite in that game, so everyone believes they're going to come back. And touching on the Nuggets in this game, they are a 1.5 point favorite also on the road at Minnesota, with the expectation that they will also bounce back after this tough loss.
Also, R.G. Barrett and Scotty Barnes each scored 33 points to lead Toronto to 126-104 victory over the Cavaliers. Now, that's one, Steve, that we were kind of looking at like, Cavaliers are going to win this. They don't play again until Sunday morning. That'll be on ESPN. Cleveland at Toronto. Is this just the, okay, fine, Toronto got one at home kind of thing, and Cleveland will be fine?
They got one at home, and I think this game was a lot closer than the final score shows. I mean, Toronto got up, started running away with it in the fourth quarter, and then it was kind of like, yeah, okay, we're not going to win. We'll just shut it down a little bit. They got outscored by 20 in that fourth quarter alone. Toronto got a win. Great for them. I still don't see them advancing out of this round.
Now, I will again remind you where we've come here with the LA Lakers. Amazing March, 15-2. Lucas scores 600 points, whatever. Give me the Rockets. We're going to win in the first round, and then we'll see what happens with the Lakers. Oh, wait, Austin Reeves, he's out. He's out forever. Oblique. Oh, Luke is going to Spain. Oh, God, okay, they're going to inject a fetus into him or whatever they do in Spain. Oh, wait, LeBron, he's still LeBron, and they do have the Rockets. Oh, and Durant doesn't play in game 1. They played in game 2. Oh, nope, didn't. And now, and this one was a surprise to a lot of people. Austin Reeves, who's been sidelined because of that oblique strain, was upgraded to questionable for game 3 of the Lakers' first round series against the Rockets. And Durant is back down to questionable, or is still at questionable for his sprained leg. Now, so look, this game is tonight. I haven't seen. I checked before we went on the air. That was an hour ago. If anything's been changed with Austin Reeves, for Durant, it was like, an hour before tip-off, we heard in game 2 he was going to play. The fact they're even upgrading Reeves shows he's better than we all thought, or in theory, that he's healing quicker than we thought. I haven't heard anything on Luka. There's always that question we talk about all the time, Steve. When you take somebody who's been out for a while and you reinsert them, is that good or bad? Because you haven't been gelling with them. Is he at 80%, 40%, etc.? Does the I know where you've been on the Lakers from the beginning. Like when they had Luka and Austin 100%, you didn't believe they would get to the Western Conference Championship until you saw it. Now it's absurd almost. If Reeves can play, and I mean the Lakers are already up 2-0. Now, yes, they're in Houston. It's 5 o'clock. You got to have prime for tonight's games. The Lakers, I mean, do you feel better about the Lakers against Houston? I mean, they're already up 2-0. Are you thinking, okay, I think the Lakers could advance?
I think they can advance. They're up 2-0. I mean, all they got to do is win 2 more games out of this. The Rockets right now are an 8.5-point favorite in this game. If I'm the Lakers, I'm letting Reeves. I love the fact that they put it out there because now it's at, he's a lot closer for the fans and everyone to know of returning, which brings that hope that the Lakers can, get Luka back and Reeves back. But I think the Lakers have played so well in their first 2 games with Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, LeBron being LeBron. I wouldn't want to mess that up right now. Look, let's make sure he's 100% or as close to 100% as we can get. If we lose this game, we never thought we'd be 2-0 to start the series anyway. We'll still be up 2-1. Give him a couple more days of rest and see where it goes from there. And I think Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard have earned that right to play a lot of minutes in this game tonight.
And that is the smart thing. We talked about this, and we'll get to it in a second here. Yesterday, we talked about it with Wemby. Does Austin Reeves need to play today? No, he doesn't. They're up 2-0, as you said. What if they win on the road and they're up 3-0? Well, now, Austin, just take the series off, pal. We'll figure out a way to win 1, and then he can really rest, and we can all start focusing on the Lucas side of it. The other game tonight is, we told you yesterday, Wemby did travel with the Spurs. They're at Portland. So his concussion wasn't serious enough to keep him off a plane. Does he need to play tonight? That's what we were talking about yesterday. Now, it's not a 2-0 thing. It's 1-1. But it's still the Spurs against Portland, and it feels like even if the Spurs went down 2-1, okay, then we put Wemby in on Sunday, etc. I'm still in favor of, I know he's going to want to play. Just have Wemby on the sidelines, cheering everybody on, and let's see how it goes.
I'm torn on this. Right now, the Spurs are a 2-point favorite. If he can go and log some minutes, I think you let him play a little bit. My fear would be they lose here. They're down 2-1. They got another game in Portland, and it's going to be a tight spread. That game will be, within a couple of points, just like this tonight game at 2. I don't know if I want to give that Blazer team the ability to go up 3-1 on me on their home court, because then it's like anything can happen. Maybe they have that bad shooting night like the Nuggets did, and next thing you know, we're out of the playoffs, and we had hopes of going deep, and we got knocked off by Portland. So I don't play him a ton of minutes, but I could see getting him in that 20-minute range if he's able to go.
The other series that's a little surprisingly tied up at 1-1 is the early game tonight with the Celtics at the 76ers. That's at 4 o'clock Pacific time. And this is not quite like Austin Reeves being upgraded to questionable. The 76ers yesterday upgraded star center Joel Embiid to doubtful. They upgraded him to doubtful last night for tonight's game 3 game at home against the Celtics. Of course, he had his appendectomy 2 weeks ago in Houston. The series is tied at 1. The upgrade to doubtful is comical, but also the idea that do we have any reason to believe the Sixers are any better with Embiid at this point?
And how much is he really going to be playing with this appendectomy surgery? I mean, you got to figure he's not putting in a whole lot of cardio or anything like that. He at times was already slow going up the court, and I love him. I think he is one of those players when healthy, he can dominate a game. He has shown that. Let Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey have their fun. Go see what they can do. Hopefully they can get a nice game out of Paul George, and they can make an effort here. They're an 8.5-point dog at home against the Celtics. I don't think anybody expects the Sixers, but if the Sixers can find a way to win one of these 2 games at home, it might be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, okay, Embiid's not playing tonight, right? I mean,
No.
upgraded to okay. So if the Sixers win tonight or whenever they play again, what Sunday? I don't know. They play Sunday or Monday. I can't tell. Um, I still question whether or not Embiid is a helpful addition to the team if they're winning without him and with all of the history of Embiid.
I think if he's not at least 75% healthy, I don't see him being a helpful because he can also be a distraction for them as well. I'm curious to see where the integrity with the NBA. I mean, is Reeves really questionable, or the Lakers just throwing that out there, to throw it and let people know? But he at no time was ever seriously considered to be playing in this game. And the same with Embiid. The Sixers are following that same playbook. Let's put it out there. Let's make the the Celtics think about something else on it. If he was never even considered to be able to play. These are things that I question on the injury reports. They shouldn't be allowed to do that as teams. And Bill Belichick's the classic example. The whole team is questionable every Sunday. Yeah, look, Tom Brady has a hurt toenail, so we're going to make him questionable. But when the leagues allow it, this is why you see these types of things.
Adjacent to the NBA is the WNBA and this concern. Has the WNBA, have they gone too far too fast? Have they gotten over their skis? Are they getting away from what from this opportunity of they were playing amazing basketball better than the NBA was playing. Along comes Caitlin Clark. I'm not blaming her, but she blew it up. The WNBA had a following, and it had a following of men who had slowly come along, who had been told by their friends named Steve, this is better basketball. You really should watch it. Don't pay attention to the fact they're chicks. You might learn something. So it was growing, and then Caitlin Clark selling out everywhere. Then they get their collective bargaining agreement done. There's concern. They're pulling a Home Depot, a Starbucks. They're opening a shop at every corner. And a couple years from now, they're going to have to downsize. The WNBA's 2026 schedule will feature a record 216 games and tentpole events that will be nationally broadcast. It was announced on Wednesday. They have partnerships renewed with Disney, Amazon Prime, Paramount, CBS, as well as NBC, Universal, and USA Sports that are all distributing the games. The teams with the most national broadcasts, big surprise, of course, number one, the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark, and then Dallas, New York, and Vegas. I don't know that that's about expanding too quickly. The idea of we're going to play international and that kind of stuff, but more exposure isn't expanding too quickly. But a lot of people, you seemed to be what I'm about to describe, and I've talked to others guys who had really gotten into the NBA who all seem to have they're kind of lukewarm now. Like, I don't know.
I have really backed off the NBA. A couple of things have turned me off of it. This last labor agreement and all the NBA players wanting to be paid as much as LeBron James and the other NBA. Here's a thought: make money first. The NBA subsidizes it. And I don't know how it finished up last year, but I think going into last year, the best the WNBA ever did was lose $200 million. You talk about you want these multi-million dollar contracts, and they're getting paid now, which is great. They're getting their travel, which I believe they always should have been able to have, and I'd like to see where it goes. The thing I think that has disappointed me the most is the player bickering. And they knock each other. It seems they don't support each other. Caitlin Clark's at the middle of that. And without Caitlin Clark, I'm sorry to say this, we wouldn't be seeing any of this. If she doesn't do what she did, the WNBA would be no different than it was the first, 17 years of its existence. And you just see it. I mean, Angel Reese is out there. She just got traded, I think it was to Atlanta. She's playing the villain. I think she's doing a great job with playing the villain. I'm so tired of the shots that they take at Caitlin Clark, the shots they take at each other, the bickering, the wanting NBA money, and their product doesn't make any money. It doesn't make sense to me.
I've heard too that the quality of play has gone down in a lot of people's opinions. You mentioned almost all of them that other people have mentioned, particularly the guys would use the word cattiness or pettiness. I don't know. There's smack talk in all these leagues, but I understand what you're saying. There seems to be no camaraderie in the WNBA for the most part. But I've also heard some guys say it's not the why I liked it 3-4 years ago. They're starting to play like the NBA more and more.
Yeah, there's a lot more 3-point shots putting up. And yes, it used to be about the ball movement, getting the ball inside. Obviously there's not a lot of dunks, but it was more the true form of basketball. And it's moving towards the lot more 3-point shots, a lot more playing for me and my stats as opposed to a team game. And to me, not as exciting as it was. I do agree with that. But then you add in these other things, and it's like, it's hard for me to get excited to watch a game anymore.
Speaking of excited to watch games, we said the Sabres were still in it. The Cinderella team of the NHL, Buffalo, haven't been to the postseason in 15 years. They got their first win earlier. Buffalo went nuts, then they lost. And then they came from behind to beat the Bruins 3-1 last night. 2-1 lead in the first round playoff series. Game 4 is Sunday before they go back to Buffalo. So, Steve, okay, we put the Sabres back in last night. We were right. Are we looking at a long series? Are we looking at this is going to go 6 or 7 and it's going to be back and forth, and the Sabres are, in fact, because we already said yesterday, it's not just your heart. There's a head reason to believe in the Sabres.
Yeah, this game is going to go, and even this game. I mean, the home ice isn't playing a whole lot of factor in this. These games today, for the Sunday game, the Bruins are a slight favorite at -115, and they use a 20-cent line. So they're -115 on the Bruins, -105 on the Sabres. When they're in Buffalo, they're close to the same thing. The ice doesn't mean that much. Great rivalry, and go Buffalo Sabres. I am cheering for them. In fact, I'm talking, let's bring back the Buffalo Braves in the NBA. Let's bring back Bob McAdoo. And let's give Buffalo an NBA team, because the way they support the Bills and now the Sabres with their craziness, and just the whole community gets behind them. Let's bring the NBA back to Buffalo as well.
So a series that we did bury early continued along that route. Colorado moved to the brink of the second round, 4-2 over the Kings last night. Colorado's up 3-0 in the series. Sunday is game 4 in LA. Is Colorado just going to put them out of their misery on Sunday?
It's done. The Kings might win one game, win on Sunday, then it will be over in 5. But even in this, the Avalanche are a $1.70 favorite. They're a heavy favorite to win this game on the road in LA. They're just that much better of a team.
All right, now here's one I'm going to cede entirely to you on. I've seen the clips. I wasn't watching it live, and even with the clips, I'm like, I gotta talk to Steve about this. So, okay, the Hurricanes beat the Senators 2-1, 3-0 in the series. Okay, that's not the story. They can wrap up the series tomorrow night in Ottawa. That's not the story. Only 4 teams in NHL history have overcome a 3-0 series. That's not the story. The story is Travis Green, the Senators coach, says it was, quote, ridiculous that there wasn't a video review on Carolina Hurricanes forward Taylor Hall's hit to the head of defenseman Jake Sanderson, a blow that Coach Green said forced him out of their Game 3 loss Thursday night. Not him, the coach, Sanderson. Ottawa's leading scorer amongst defensemen in the regular season was limited to only 13 minutes last night because of the injury. Second period, Sanderson plays the puck behind the Ottawa net. Hall arrives on the forecheck, delivers a hit in which his shoulder connected with Sanderson's head. I saw that. It knocked the defenseman's helmet off. I saw that. Wow, okay, that's quite a hit. Hall was given a 2-minute penalty for an illegal check to the head. Said Coach Green, it's a blatant hit to the head, the kind you don't want to see. It's ridiculous there wasn't a review. I don't understand how there's not a 5-minute major called on the hit to the head, end quote. Now, one reason there wasn't a major called on the play is the rules don't allow it. By NHL rules, the referees can either give a player a minor penalty or a match penalty for an illegal check to the head, but not a major. Point being, take that out of it. Green's emotional, etc. I can watch these things, but I watch them like through the NFL prism about, oh, well, okay, we know the rules, hitting to the head, things like that. Dirty hit, Steve, dangerous hit, bad hit, should have been worse, or this is just a coach sticking up for his guy, but it's hockey.
It's a coach sticking up for his guy. It is hockey. And one of the things that I'm enjoying, because we are in playoff hockey, these games are getting chippy. Oh, they're going after each other. They are, like the other game, and I don't remember which one it was. Game was pretty much over, 9 seconds left on the clock, and they're ready to go to blows. They're fighting in front of the net. I love that. The emotions that go with it. This is where we're at. I love the fact that the coach is defending his player, but he knows he's out there in left field. He has nothing to stand on, but he's trying to get anything he can to get his team motivated. They're going to get swept. The Hurricanes are going to win this 4-0. And it's too bad because the Senators aren't a bad team, but just the Hurricanes are a much better team, kind of like the Avalanche right now against the Kings.
Playoff hockey tonight on TNT at 4 o'clock. Tampa Bay is at Montreal, and it's all tied up 1-1. So the Canadiens, they almost won 2 on the road, blew it in game 2. So they're back home. What do you see in this one, Steve?
Yeah, the Lightning are a slight favorite here. The Lightning had to win that game in overtime. They'd gone down 0-2 going to Montreal. They were in big trouble. I think this game will be 2-2 rolling out of Montreal. I don't know if Tampa wins this one. I'm hoping they win this one, and then maybe they give the next one up. But this is going to be another one of those hard-fought series. I don't think anybody saw that. The Lightning were more than a 2-1 favorite. I was one of those in the camp that said Tampa Bay is going to advance here. They are clearly the better team, but Montreal's putting up a great fight.
A game or series rather. You seem you seem to be a little. I just don't know. Your Las Vegas Golden Knights. You really wanted them to win that other one in Vegas. Now they're in Utah tonight, 6:30. This one's on TBS. Series is tied at 1. I know you've said the Mammoth don't sit on them. But a lot of people are having a hard time wrapping their heads around that the Golden Knights aren't going to pull this one out fine.
This game's sitting at pick'em. I mean, it's in Utah. Utah is an undervalued and underrated team. The Knights last couple of years have struggled on the road. And we're going to see if they can go out and get that road win. Tortorella has really pumped new life into this franchise. I give them credit for that. They finally lost a game. Let's just see how they rebound on the road.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. MAP, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com. Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years. years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Barry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBarry.com. Most people think Barry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Barry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say.
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Barry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBarry.com. That's Barry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Barry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBarry.com. The number's right there. Barry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Barry with an A.com. That's Sue Barry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBarry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Barry, NMLS number 366040. Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show. Call the show at 888-587-5355 or email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
The New York Mets were back at it after breaking their 12-game losing streak. They went out and survived and hung on to beat the Minnesota Twins 10-8. Juan Soto's second game back from a strained right calf, which caused him to miss 15 games, went 0-for-3 with 2 walks. So far, he hasn't done much since he got back, but hey, they've won twice. Meanwhile, Francisco Lindor, the shortstop who went out with a left calf strain on the day that Soto came back in, it's a lot worse than they initially let on. The timetable of his return has not been determined. They have already said he's going to miss more time than Soto, who is out for 3 weeks. In fact, Carlos Mendoza said, quote, he's going to be down for quite a bit. Now, one of the things we've been talking about with the Mets, Steve, is, okay, so they broke the 12-game losing streak, and then what? How much more can the Mets suffer? How much more can they fail? They begin the much-talked-about series for you and I against Colorado tonight. The Mets are throwing Peralta. The Colorado's throwing Michael Lorenzen, who's got that beautiful 7.48 ERA. These, because we were talking about, like, if the Mets kept sliding, the idea of them like getting swept at home by the Rockies would be the end. But we're still wondering. We went through yesterday. We go through 13 games and said, what if they go 4-11 or something like that? You said you see a lot when they go through a streak. Anybody goes through a streak like that, then they start to win, or they come back. Maybe they win 4 out of 5 or 7 out of 10. That's what they would need to do. And now they're just a little bit snake bit. You know, the minute Soto comes back, Lindor comes back. And no matter what, the Mets continue to be incredibly disappointing right now.
Yes, but will they continue that? They need to sweep Colorado or take 2 out of 3. But the little bits of hope you have to cling to as a Mets fan, and even in last night's game, the Mets had the big lead, and then they give up the grand slam in the top of the 8th to tie the game. And I think it was 7-7 at the time. And it was like, oh, here we go again. The Mets just can't. They came back with 3 in the bottom of the 8th, gave up 1 in the 9th. So they got a little shaky there, but held on to win 10-8 in a game that really should not have been this close. So there are signs pointing Lindor out for a bit. Freddie Peralta against Lorenzen. This is a big advantage to the Mets. They're a little over a $2 favorite. And the Mets really need to continue this winning ways just to ease everybody off. Because if they go and lose 2 out of 3 or get swept by the Rockies at home, they're all going to be back on it, just like where they were during their losing streak.
as we were watching the Mets lose their 12 great games in a row, though, the Phillies were continuing to flounder and flounder, and the question came up: whose job is more in jeopardy, Carlos Mendoza or Rob Thompson? They both still have their jobs as of right now, even though the Cubs rebounded from a pair of blown leads to beat the Phillies 8-7 in 10 innings yesterday. We're going to talk about the Cubs in a minute, but what about the Phillies? The Phillies have now lost 9 in a row. And as we talked about yesterday, they're going to Atlanta. The Phillies are throwing Painter against Holmes tonight for a 3-game series. You get swept, you're at 12, and you're already one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. So we're back to, I know, you heard that rumor out there that are they already considering getting rid of Thompson? Mike Scioscia's name is being floated. I don't know how much more. And the Phillies players, they're not, from what I'm seeing, they're not expressing overt frustration at anyone, but certainly the situation. We've got to get it together. We've got to, the old nose to the grindstone speech and all. They are feeling it, and Philadelphia fans aren't going to put up with it for much longer. They're lucky they're on the road right now, Philly is.
Yeah, the fans are not going to put up with it much longer at all. Phillies lost in 10 innings yesterday to the Cubs. Andrew Painter's one of their young, promising prospects. They have high hopes for him. He's one of the best pitching prospects that have come up with the Phillies for the last several years. But this team is bad. I keep thinking they're as bad as it's going to get. Back when I said, look, they're 27th in pitching, 28th in hitting. They are now 28th in pitching and 29th or 30th in hitting. So it continues to get even worse. They are arguably the worst team in all of baseball, which cannot be accepted by the Philly fans, the city, the front office, management. I have reached that point where I think they need to go. And huge series against the Braves. If they go get swept here and they extend this to 12, I don't see how Rob Thompson has a job come Monday.
This brings us though to that question all the time. The Phillies have a lot of talent. There's talent there. Is Rob Thompson the problem? The manager's always going to be the one that goes. Is he the problem, or is there something else going on? Is Schwarber, Harper? What is it? Thompson that's not making these guys perform?
No, it's not. And Taijuan Walker, one of their pitchers, they signed a free agent. They just released him. Said, "Look, man, you've had your shots here." They used an opener for him. He came in after that, got rocked again, and they just said, "You're moving on." And they released him. But if you remember, Joe Girardi was with the Phillies, and the Phillies got off to that slow start, and they moved Girardi out. I like Joe Girardi. I think he's a really good manager. And they brought in Rob Thompson. And just that change sparked something in the players. They ended up rebounding and having a great season because he changed that. But the Phillies haven't recaptured that magic as much as they had before, and it worked the last time. I got to believe Dombrowski and the Phillies are saying, you know what, maybe we just need that changeup. Rob did a great job for us while he was here, but he's not getting through. It's not happening. The players are the ones that have to perform, and it's just not there. Let's go with another one of those shakeups and see if we can catch magic in a bottle a second time by moving a manager during the course of the season. And I have to believe they are at least discussing that. You and I always talk about, well, if you're going to fire him, who are you going to bring in? You got to bring in someone better. I think right now at the Phillies, man, I think any change has got to be better than where they're going.
Well, and part of it too, especially with baseball this year, is a lot of it does depend on the division that you're in. In the American League West, you're in last place. You're 3.5 games behind first place. Same with the National League Central. Big whoop. But if you're in the National League East like the Phillies are, you're in last place and you're 9.5 back and 4 full teams back of the Braves. It's a much bigger difference. It's a much bigger, taller mountain to climb for a team that was supposed to be in it, that was supposed to genuinely be a contender. And that takes us to the other side of the field last night that not a lot of people are talking about. And it's not like they're not a national team that everybody knows. The Cubs have won 9 in a row. The Cubs, they're not just streaking. They have won 9 in a row. Now, how far can they take it? they got to go to LA tonight and they start a 3-gamer against the Dodgers, and then they got 3 against the Padres. And then they host Arizona, and then they host Cincinnati. So we're going to learn a lot about the Cubs, I would guess, over the next 12 games with those teams coming up. You said early on in the season, where everybody's overreacting, and it's still early on in the season, the Cubs will be fine. They'll be there. Is this the Cubs you were expecting?
This is better than the Cubs. I wasn't expecting, this kind of winning streak all the time, but this is a great test. They're playing as good a baseball as they've played. They have the winning streak going in. Let's find out how they hold up against the Dodgers and the Padres on the road. I personally believe they can play with them. I'm not saying they're better than the Dodgers, but I could say that I think overall they're a better team than the Padres. They paid the money. They brought in Alex Bregman. Uh, and they're playing good. I, along with many people, had the Cubs winning this division this season, and what we've seen the last several games is why.
Now, the Dodgers, what was it? Yesterday they lost 4 out of 5, something like that. For the Dodgers, it's a huge skid. Okay. Are we at the point where, because we don't believe that's the Dodgers, right? I mean, the conversation here on this show is, will they break the 116 win total in Major League Baseball? Question 2 is, will they win 120? I mean, those are the conversations, barring massive injuries in LA, that we're having about the Dodgers, and they continue. So are we at the point where if the Cubs win 1 of 3 in LA, that's good? Or acceptable?
Yeah, no. It's good. And even if the Dodgers were to get swept, I'm still not throwing in the towel.
No.
I mean, Tyler Glass now would be a number 1 on 25 of the 30 major league teams, most likely. And he's like 3rd, 4th in that rotation. I'd love to see the Cubs put up a fight, because they need to reestablish themselves as one of the top teams in the National League. I know the win streak's putting them there, but they did have that slow start. But if the Cubs win 1 out of 3, I'm not burying the Cubs either. They just hit the Dodgers on the road, but I'd like to see some fight from them in San Diego, and the Padres playing them hard and playing all the way through the game.
Yeah, the Dodgers. It's going to take a lot to I think, to get both of us to go. Okay, like you said, even getting swept by the Cubs. Okay, well, what happens next? Then we can start to go, why are they losing? How are they losing? I'm looking at it more from the Cubs standpoint, and let's do all 6 of them then. Dodgers and Padres, if they go 500, even if they get swept by the Dodgers and then they sweep the Padres, they get 1 from the Dodgers, they get 2 from the Padres. That's pretty good, considering they're all the way across the country. They're playing the 2 best teams in the National League that are battling each other, minus the Braves, I know, but I'd be like, if I was a Cubs fan, I'm like, hey, 3 out of 6, and anything beyond that is gravy.
I would take 3 and 3 out of those 6 games right now, and let's not play them, and let's move on, because I also, as I've mentioned, I believe that once you go into a long winning streak like this, like a long losing streak, that chances are you're going to turn it around and go the opposite way. It just, statistically speaking, like in the NFL, you might have a great team, but everyone's going to be fairly close to being 500 against the point spread, because the point spread is the equalizer. Nobody's going to win 30, 40, 50 games. We used to say every team's going to win 60, every team's going to lose 60. So when you run off a 9-game winning streak, you'll see a lot of times that a team will come back and lose 4 or 5 in a row. So if they lose the first game, and that's where I'm like, look, to be 3 and 3, they have to lose somewhere. Don't make it be a big long streak, because it offsets everything you accomplished with the 9-game winning streak. So get out of this 3 and 3. You're not going to go into that long losing streak, and then keep playing for tomorrow.
We gave you the background yesterday on the Cam Schlittler versus the Red Sox fans issue. Schlittler grew up rooting for the Red Sox, and now as a Yankee, he owns them. And Steve predicted yesterday that his Boston Red Sox had no shot against Cam Schlittler. Well, he was right. Schlittler went, 8 innings, and gave up 4 hits over 8 innings. Schlittler lowered his ERA to 1.77, and the Yankees won their 6th in a row. We'll stay with the Yankees at first. They've won 8 of their last 10. They're now 2.5 up on the Tampa Bay Rays. And then you start to look at, okay, are the Yankees starting to pull away? 2.5 games from the Rays, but the Yankees are looking like the Yankees right now.
They really are, and everybody thinks of the Bronx Bombers and their offense. Their offense is near the bottom in the league. It's their pitching. I mean, they number one in ERA right now. Cam Schlittler, great game there. You look at Garrett Cole. I believe had a rehab start here on Wednesday. Rodon is having a rehab start on Friday, so they're on top of leading the majors in pitching. You got Cole and Rodon coming back here shortly. Schlittler, and to touch on this, I was listening to a show that was out there, and they were talking about Cy Youngs. And the one guy was saying, look, I'm finally gotten onto that Schlittler, bandwagon for Cy Young award. And he's like, right now, if you can get him around 20-1, that's a pretty good price. And he said he has a buddy who has Schlittler at 300-1 to win the AL Cy Young Award. I'm like, wow, who put up those odds? I hope it wasn't me, because that's unbelievable. I mean, I've been on this guy. I saw it last year at the end. I think 20-1 odds are still great. Yankees are going to win, which means he's going to get a good amount of wins. And just the way he's pitching, he is the ace of that staff right now. He's going to be in contention. If he can keep this up for the whole season, he's going to be a top 5 contender just off of that. And maybe Skubal wins it again. And, Jose Soriano's having such a great start to the season for the Angels, but it's still the Angels. You got to figure at some point the Angels are going to wear on you. They're not that good of a team. So Schlittler, even if you can get him, say, at 20-1 right now, to me is a great bet.
What about the Red Sox? Why we're spending all this time, the national media as well, talking about the Mets. Are they going to fire Mendoza? The Phillies, are they going to fire Thompson? Newsflash: the Red Sox stink. They've got the exact same win-loss record as the Mets, the 12-in-a-row loser Mets. There's only 2 teams worse than the Red Sox, the Royals and the Phillies, who are at a .320 winning percentage. Where's the angst? I know as a Red Sox fan, you're like, this is awful, but where's the national angst over one of the biggest teams in the MLB? And why aren't we crying out over it? So they've got to go to Baltimore. They got to go to Toronto, the Red Sox do. They host the Astros. They go to Detroit. They host Tampa Bay. If we're not talking about it now, we could be talking about it by the middle of May after they go through that gauntlet, which they're only really going to be favored in a few of those games. I mean, you've been talking about how disappointing they are. I didn't realize how bad it was, Steve. I really didn't. They're 7 back of the Yankees and just rotten.
They are. Rotten is a great way to describe this team. They're not doing anything right. I mean, at all. Well, I can't say that. Their pitching's been pretty good. Their offense is terrible. Every game I keep going to let the weather warm up. Let the weather warm up. Maybe we but at this point, 25 games, Red Sox have 14 home runs. They were tied with the Giants for the worst in all of baseball. They still are. Giants are sitting at 14. They have no power, but they have guys who can get on base. They do have the extra base capabilities because they are a lot of doubles hitters. And I have to believe they're going to start hitting home runs when the weather turns, but they're not performing at any level. They're hitting, man, what is it? They're hitting like 223 as a team, and their team is built for on base and average. They need to be in the top 7 or 8 to be a good team. They're in the bottom 6. Their offense is terrible.
Tyler Glasnow and Tanner Scott combined on a 1-hitter as the Dodgers shut out the Giants 3-0. The Giants, they're right there, a game ahead of the Rockies. They're 6 games back of the Padres and the Dodgers, who are neck and neck. They're literally tied in every way, 17-8 winning percentage, et cetera. The Giants are throwing Hauser against Miami tonight, and that's their series. And there's another team that even the Giants have been talked more about making a managerial change than the Red Sox, and the Giants are a huge disappointment as well. But you like the Marlins, don't you? Are they the small ball team you keep talking to me about? Or is
No,
that the
that's
Rays?
Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay
Okay,
is the Chandler Simpson at the top of that lineup. They are a big time small. The Marlins, though, I mean, no payroll. Everybody on that team's been, new player in the last couple of years. Uh, Good young talent. Sandy Alcantara's their starting pitcher tonight. This guy, I swear, even when he doesn't have his stuff, the Marlins let him go. It seems like 8 innings. He's one of the old time pitchers, doesn't want to come out of the game. The Marlins are a slight favorite here, but I give the Giants some credit. They won 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. Maybe they've righted the ship. I like them going to the season because I like the moves they made. They're focused on pitching and defense. They just, like the Red Sox, got to find some power in there. I don't know if they need to bring up Bryce Eldridge. He's their big first baseman sitting down at AAA. People thought he was going to break camp with them. The Giants did send him down. And with him, I think I kind of view him as a Nick Kurtz. We've seen what Nick Kurtz did to that A's lineup with the power. And Eldridge is another one of those big guys. But Schmidt's doing a fine job at first. I can't knock him. He's hitting the ball well. I think the Giants need to find a little bit more power because you can't go into every game going, if we don't score at least 3 runs, we cannot win.
I always look over when we're doing the preview for baseball in particular. I try to make sure, hey, if there's a starting pitcher that's going, whether it's a compelling game or not, there's certain names under half a dozen that I always try to point out, and we move that around based on who's doing what. A's are at Texas now; they're throwing Severino. They're not in Sacramento, so they've got a shot with Severino. Cleveland's at Toronto. Where are you on Max Scherzer? There's a name he's throwing tonight. That's a name you would never usually miss. But where are we right now on the Scherzer watch?
Scherzer hasn't been a whole lot in the last several years. Injuries, age, just not as effective. He still has the name. He still gets the contract. But anytime you can get a win from him, it's a bonus. He's one of those guys that should be leaving the major leagues here shortly.
And on the other end of the spectrum, it's Paul Skeens night. Game's at 4:40. It is it? Oh, it's on ESPN Unlimited. Never mind. You got to have the MLB package or whatever, or a way to get the game. But Paul Skeens is throwing against the Brewers. I can't miss. If I can get Paul Skeens, I'm going to watch Paul Skeens.
And this should be a good game. I mean, Brandon Woodruff was the ace for the Brewers before he got hurt a couple of years ago. This game's close to pick 'em. Pirates are a slight favorite on the road just because Skeens is on the mound. Brewers have been stumbling as of late. They've lost a couple of games in a row, but they need to rebound here. Their star player, Churios, their outfielder, he's been out, I believe, the whole season. They need to get him back here, need to get that offense moving again. They've been struggling as of late. Should be a great game, great pitching matchup. Skeens, Woodruff, this will be one of the highlight games that I will have on my TVs.
One other baseball note, walks have skyrocketed to near historic highs through the season's first month. Now, there is no direct evidence as to what's causing it, but a lot of people have their opinions. MLB players have drawn a walk in just under 10% of plate appearances this season through Wednesday's games, which, comparing apples to apples, would be the highest rate since 1950. And Major League Baseball's new automated ball strike system, say most, is the reason for the increase. As Diamondbacks catcher James McCann says, of course it is. What other rules have changed? He points to the official baseball rules, which were long described as a strike zone stretching from the midpoint of the hitter's torso down to the hollow beneath the kneecap. That always drove me nuts. The new zone is more precise. 27% of a batter's standing height stretches to 53.5%. Computers. The ABS zone is 17 inches wide, matching the width of home plate. All pitches are measured from the midpoint of the plate. I mean, I'm kind of with McCann, short of any other evidence. What else could be causing all these walks other than the ABS?
So are you saying that the umpires really weren't very good and they constantly gave the pitchers the edge of the plate, when they painted the black and allowed them to expand that zone?
Yes.
I mean, that could easily be the case. I love it though. I want them to go ABS full time, all pitches. Let the pitchers learn the strike zone. And one of the teams that's really been affected by this, the Houston Astros, really good offense. They have 141 walks so far on the season in 26 games. Think about how many walks that is. It's 20 more than the second worst team. They can't throw the ball over the plate. It's pretty simple. Rob, you were a pitcher. Throw strikes. So to sit there and say, I'm going to blame the ABS system because my pitchers lack the ability to throw strikes, I don't buy that part. I think it's great that the strike zone's being fully enforced now for the most part, and they have the ability to challenge it, but throw strikes. We wouldn't be talking about this.
Have a great weekend. We're back on Monday.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob